This episode is brought to you by Butter Skin, a Black-founded, Black-led skincare brand created specifically for our melanin-rich community. Now, y'all already know this show is about feeling good on the inside, but let's not forget about the outside. Your glow, it deserves love too. Butter makes it easy. I use their cleanser, their 15% vitamin C serum to keep my skin even and dark spot free. Oh, and that moisturizer, baby, butter. My skin feels hydrated, healthy, and like I'm showing up for myself, morning and night. Because real wellness, it's not just meditation and journaling. It's those small rituals that remind you, you matter. And when I say my skin is loving me back, just click the link in the video description box to shop my favorite butter products. You'll get a special discount too. Consider it your reward for showing up for yourself today. All right, now, let's get into today's conversation. Calling all my sweeties to the forefront. I'm your host, Renee Hayslett, and this is the Keep It Positive Sweetie Show. Hey, sweeties, you already know what time it is. It's your weekly dose of joy, real talk, and a little soul work on the side. I have been so excited about every single guest that we've had this season. We've had nothing but gems dropped every single episode, and today will be no different. He is a writer, director, producer of work that has spanned over different generations. We all love his characters. We root for them, we've cried with them, and we've grown with them. You may know him from films like Best Man, Girls Trip, Night School. Kids family, please give a very warm welcome to Malcolm D. Lee. Malcolm, how are you feeling?
I'm well.
Good.
How
You
are
fresh
you?
off a flight?
Fresh off the flight.
Straight to
Very
Atlanta.
glad to be here. Yes.
Good. So this is the second stop on your book tour.
Yeah.
The first one was amazing. So I guess I got some big shoes to fill for tonight.
Oh, you'll be fine. It's gonna be good. It's no pressure.
No
Just
pressure.
let's just have a conversation.
I love it. So everyone knows you from your Best Man film and the television series, Girls Trip, which was one of my favorite. Oh my gosh. And then I heard they may be doing another one. As soon as I heard it, I was like, I need that.
We're working on it.
Working on it, yes.
Yeah.
And Space Jam: The Legacy. People know you from that, but I want to know who Malcolm is. Where are you from? Tell us your journey to get to the Best Man that has a movie that we've all grown up to and watched for years.
Yeah. Was born in Queens, New York. I was raised in Brooklyn. Um, I grew up with both my parents and my brother, and was at predominantly white private schools since the fifth grade until the 12th grade. I went to and I was the only black male in my class from fifth to 12th grade. Ended up going to it was interesting existence. And then went to Georgetown University undergrad. Went to NYU Film School, and always had a love for the fine and performing arts. From a very early age, and what those prep schools did for me was expose me to film and television very early. Animation, video making, and I always liked to act and write and draw, create little scenarios with, action figures and things like that. So, that's I grew up like that, and participating in many different arts endeavors, and I think it was certainly encouraged by my family. I think they kind of said, let me explore, my mom would put me in art classes and things like that. And she was a medical records administrator. She transitioned to be a college professor later on. My father was a school teacher and musician.
Oh, wow.
And so we grew up in a limestone in Crown Heights, Brooklyn.
Very nice. I love that. So, wow, it's similar to me. My childhood, I grew up predominantly white community. Was one of the few black kids from kindergarten all the way to the 12th grade, and then moved to DC. You went to Georgetown. That's when I was like, whoa, a whole new world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, even going to Georgetown, like that was more black people than I'd been around in my life. And it was
Yeah.
Howard was right across the, right across town. So
Yeah.
if I wanted to, see more, I could, experience. And it was all at the time it was still known as Chocolate City.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
So and yeah, I would say primarily good happy childhood, pretty well adjusted,
Mhm.
and kind of felt like I knew what I wanted to do when I was an undergrad. I mean, I got to
Okay.
work with my cousin Spike very
Wait,
early on.
Spike Lee?
Spike Lee,
That's your
that's
cousin?
my cousin. Yeah, you
Wow.
didn't know that?
No,
No.
it's in the bloodline.
All
Okay.
right, now you know. Yeah,
Yes.
so I got to work with him very early on. He was in film school
Mhm.
in the early '80s and living in my parents' basement. And
Wow.
so I got to see very early on the emergence of this great American and now world renowned filmmaker,
Yes.
who I didn't know at the time was going to be that.
Right.
And but he's demonstrated that it was possible to have a
Mhm.
career in this industry, and I got to work with him really from She's Got to Have It on through Malcolm X and Clockers and Girl Six,
Mhm.
and so that was a great education and a great encouragement from him to you know, uh, be creative and write black film and,
Mhm.
um, you know, and really trying to demonstrating how powerful the moving image was,
Yes.
particularly when it came to black people. So it's not something we that should be taken lightly
Mhm.
because that, you know, movies, television shape attitudes and culture and can affect people's views
Yeah.
of humanity.
Mhm.
So I've always taken it very seriously, and the legacy that my family has come from has very much been that. My father's side of the family, he had six brothers and sisters, and they all went to HBCUs.
Mhm.
They all played instruments. The instruments skipped my generation. I don't play anything but the radio. Um, and so, that was a legacy that I came from. The education was important, and because they had seen one filmmaker come out of the basement, they were like, "No, why don't you pursue that?"
Yeah.
And I was encouraged to do so.
Okay, I love that. That is fascinating. Wow. So Spike Lee is in your basement. I wanted to ask you, growing up around predominantly white people and in a predominantly white community, where did you find the inspiration to write the way you write for our culture and our community? Because it hits home every single
I
time.
tell you, well, I was living my neighborhood that I lived in was black,
Okay.
and I'd play ball, down at the local playground,
Mhm.
and there's plenty of, I had plenty of black experience, and it was like that was like the duality that I was living,
Yes.
like
Mhm.
being, black, trying to be black enough for my neighborhood and trying to be, at least a model minority for the
Yeah.
white folks,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was the kind of this you talk about code switching. I was doing that very very early
Right.
on,
Yeah.
but what it afforded me and what it allowed me to think was like, I saw a lot of different sides of the world,
Mm-hmm.
Jewish kids, Christian kids, waspy
Yes.
kids,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and and also wealthy kids,
Mm-hmm.
and so having experienced that not only in fifth through 12th grade, but also in college, gave me a wealth of experience. And then also going to college, you see different kinds of black people too,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, so like brothers from Texas and Atlanta and from California and,
Mhm.
the DC area. There's lots of different dialects and lots of different, mores and way people speak.
Mhm.
So, I observed all of that and became friends with lots of different kinds of people
Yeah.
and different kinds of black people, which, and my experiences at Georgetown definitely influenced and was inspired by my relationships that I'd made
Mhm.
at Georgetown.
Yeah.
And so what I was finding, particularly in movies about black people, or not even about black people, that had black people in it,
Mhm.
it was very kind of very, very narrow depictions,
Yes.
right? So there was there's the hood brother, there's the quirky friend, or there's always the sassy girlfriend,
Mhm.
and it's like, and then particularly when it came to educated brothers, they just like forgot they were black. They had
Yeah.
no cultural specificity of
Right.
blackness, so they would like check their ethnicity at the door, and that somehow that meant because you were educated, you're speaking the king's English. You are, one way. You have a bat up your behind, and you're just like, you just aspire to be white,
Right.
which is like not my experience and not the
Mhm.
experience of the people that I went to school with. So I was like, this is not this is not real or not authentic
Yeah.
to me. And so I drew on my experiences to create characters that I thought were more authentically, presented. And movies that preceded The Best Man, like Love Jones
Mhm.
and Soul Food,
Yeah.
even Waiting to Exhale, at least for the women,
Mhm.
were truer depictions of the black people that I interacted with.
Yeah, I love that. Take us to when the idea of Best Man came. Where were you?
That's
What?
an interesting question. Now I had done after film school. I'm sorry, before film school, in between film school and undergrad, I went to do a screenwriting program at Disney. I got a fellowship. I wrote two scripts, my first two screenplays there. When I went to film school, did a couple of shorts. I wrote three more screenplays. That fifth one, I was determined to make.
Mhm.
Right? It was
Mm.
called Feast and Famine. It was a romantic comedy, very much in the vein of like an Annie Hall or When Harry Met Sally,
Mhm.
a classic New York love story.
Mhm.
And I wanted to make the movie. I was trying to raise money for it,
Right.
and so when I couldn't do that independently, it was really difficult.
Mm.
And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to write something so commercial that I'm going to sell it, and
Mhm.
I'm going to use the money that I sell that with to make Feast and Famine.
Yeah.
And that script was The Best Man.
Wow.
And so I was in the midst of writing it, and I was just like, "Oh, well, I can direct this."
Mhm.
And I will say, I knew how it was going to be commercial. Was I knew that there was, a dearth of um, movies about black or a wedding, right? Like the wedding movies were very popular at the
Yeah.
time,
Mhm.
and so I was like, okay, I got to do a movie, a wedding movie with black people in it, and because there hadn't been one to date at that time, and I love ensemble movies, and I wanted to have a very clear three-act structure, and there was built-in set pieces.
Yeah.
Your bachelor party, the fellas hanging out one night, the rehearsal dinner, and the wedding itself,
Yeah.
and then I knew that I was going to have a magic prop in there
Mhm.
which was the book that keeps getting passed around. So
Yes.
I made sure that I had all of the elements of a commercial movie
Mhm.
before I wrote it.
Right.
And so when I wrote it, I was like, okay, this feels right.
Awesome. Now, how long did it take from writing The Best Man to it actually getting greenlit?
Um, I remember finishing the script. It was, I was up early one morning, and I just finished it, and I was in my parents' basement,
Mhm.
and I walked upstairs. I said, if this ain't it, I don't know what they want. And I
Yeah.
was gonna be like either become a teacher or go to law school.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
because what I was trying to make, they weren't trying to make.
Mhm.
And so I would say that was I knew what I wanted to do was time it. I'm trying to remember now.
Mhm.
I wanted to time the finishing the script by the time the movie Soul Food came out.
Got it.
Now, also being strategic about how I was going to approach it. Um, and I thought if Soul Food was going to be successful, because I had read about the movie in a trade magazine,
Mhm.
and I remember thinking, yeah, like it's even though what I'm writing is not soul food, they'll be looking for the next soul food type of thing
Right.
that where black people are we're doing more than just being in the hood and running from danger. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I was like, okay, if this movie is successful with Nia Long and Vivica Fox and Vanessa Williams and Babyface is going to be doing a soundtrack, this could do well.
Yeah.
And if that does well, that would bode well for my script. So I was done with it by the time Soul Food premiered at Urban World in New York, and I think that was fall of or late summer of '98. No, '97. Sorry. And then We went around to a couple of different studios. Spike had read it. He was like, this is the one.
Oh wow.
And so we met with Columbia. He had a deal there at the time. There's a funny story behind that, but I'll get to that later.
Okay.
Then I would say that was late mid fall, and then by the time the Academy Awards came around, we landed at Universal.
Oh wow. Okay.
In March of '98, and they said, "We like this. We want to try to develop it and make it."
Wow. But how did that feel in that moment when they said finally someone's like, we like
Well, it was funny because it's not that it doesn't happen like that. Because what happens is because in fact the first few studios we went to, they were like, we like it, but it's not for us.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
We need to do some development. And Spike is being who he is like, all right, later for y'all. We're going someplace else.
Right.
So I'm like, maybe we should listen.
Right.
But he was like, nope, we're gonna find somebody. This movie's gonna get made. I said, okay, fine. So we go to Universal, and he says, okay, look, we're gonna tell them they gotta pay you for a rewrite. If they want to do any notes, they're gonna pay you for a rewrite. And if they don't like it, we're taking it away. I said, great. So we're gonna listen to their notes.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. So there were notes, and they said, here's a little money, and at first I was excited, but when you get like the money that they offer, it's great. But like you see where Uncle Sam really comes in and just, I was like,
yeah,
that's
right.
that's what I got.
Right.
Okay, but fine. I was living in my parents' basement. It was all fine, and did the rewrite, and in about 2 months, and then I was greenlit.
Wow.
So that was exciting. The night that I found out that we were greenlit, at a budget, I think we were asking for 7 or 8, and they said you can have it for 9.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they looked at it and said you're gonna need 9, and then we actually needed more, but we were like, great. So that was exciting, very exciting. I remember where I was. I was in New York. My girlfriend, who's my wife at now, and another couple, and we just came from a restaurant, and I got did I have a cell phone then, or was it a beeper? I don't. I'm trying to remember. I was on a payphone or if I was on a cell phone. I think it was a cell phone though. Yeah, and I got a call from my executive at the studio. Says, "Yep, you're greenlit. Let's go."
Wow.
With Best Man though, we did become number 1 at the box office.
How much did that one gross after getting $9 million? Then you
the first weekend it made its budget back.
Okay, perfect.
And then it grossed about 34 or 35 million. Yeah.
Wow, and that's huge.
Yeah, it was big. It was big. It was very big.
Was that even for that time for a black film?
Oh, it was very big.
Yeah.
Even the fact that we were number 1 that weekend was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody gets $9 million and like, oh, you're number 1. How do you get to be number? That's unheard of today. To be like, yeah, whatever, $9 million. But exactly. $9 million, it was, and we beat out Fight Club and a Martin Scorsese movie. And this very popular movie that Ashley Judd had done called Double Jeopardy.
Oh, that was a good one. I remember that.
Yeah. So it was a great story.
Yeah. How did that shift, like where you were in your life at that point?
It was everything, man. Like I was like that after you become what I like to say is the prom queen. Everybody wants to dance.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody wants to meet.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to, give you projects. They all want to say, "Hey, would you consider this?" Yada yada yada. Yeah. So it was pretty fantastic. And your head can get swole and blow up and stuff. And again, I'm young. I'm like just new to this business. Yeah. But when you start getting accolades and you think, oh, my stuff don't stink. I'm good.
Did you go through a phase of that?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's impossible not to, right? At whatever age you are, or when you're first coming in the business, it's tough to like navigate all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they will. I'm sure you've heard the saying, they'll build you up and they'll tear you down, and it happens. And sometimes that can be your own doing. Like I wanted to be an auteur. I wanted to be a writer director. So if they were coming to me with a script that they were like, "Well, we'd love you to direct this," and I'd be like, "Well, I didn't write that. So I don't know, that's not. I do better than that."
Right.
Or if they want you to write something that but they don't want you to direct it, I was just like, I'm not doing that either.
Right.
But that's short sighted.
Right.
I learned that now.
So now you would take the opportunity to like.
Well, now I'm post 50 now, so I'm just like, no, I'm gonna do what I want. But
Right.
when at that age, you have to be much more malleable. You have to
Yeah.
feel like you got to kind of, look at the entire landscape, and because what is popular today, what is working now, ain't gonna work in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to like really kind of read the tea leaves. You have to like, learn to say, well, maybe I can do something with this. I mean, at certain points, there's something that they'll give you to be like, I don't know what the heck I'm gonna do with this, right? But I think that's the balance, right? Of trying to figure out, one's career. But at the same time, it's like if you don't go through certain things, you're not gonna learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You said what works now may not work 10 years from now. You
Or
created
5 years from
something.
now.
Right. But you actually created something back then that still works today. How does it feel that you created something that is still so relevant and resonates from me being in my teens at that time to me being an adult where I can watch it and still like, oh my goodness, I still get it.
I feel very fortunate. My intention. This is no lie. My intention in making The Best Man was to make a classic.
Yeah. Well,
Was
you
to
did
make
that.
a movie that would stand the test of time, that would resonate for decades and generations. And thankfully that happened. Thanks to, I think in large part to where the script, where we started with the script. I wrote a good script, and it was the right script at the right time. A lot of times when films the zeitgeist, they're like, oh, like that strikes a nerve, and it's nostalgia.
Right.
From then on, so people can't really see any other thing. And so that was the intention. It was never the intention to do a sequel or do a television series or now even a book.
Yeah.
It was just like, let me just make a movie that's be a one-off, because I did not want to repeat myself second time around. You know what I mean? So so there was talk of a sequel very early on, but I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a one-trick pony. And these characters need to live some life. I need to live some life before I decide I want to tackle this again. So it just so happened that, as fate would have it, as I said, around 2010, 2011, business for me was very slow. And what was the big thing then? Branding.
Yeah.
What was my brand? The Best Man. Everyone knew me. I had done 4 other movies,
Right.
but they weren't as popular or as, kind of like memorable as The Best Man. And I was like, I think it's time to start doing it. And I started like doing little notes and things on the sequel for years after that, but never really committing to paper. But I was like, okay, now's the time to try to do a sequel. And I pitched it to the cast, and they were like, let's do it.
Yeah. When you look back from over the years and you see the impact that you've made on our community, what is a part of your legacy that means the most to you?
Look, I love that Black folks in particular love these depictions.
Yeah.
Right? Like it is my mission. I firmly believe it's my mission on earth to show the humanity of Black people. And to normalize Black life in America. I've always wanted to tell a universal story with Black people, because we all experience the same human emotions, and so though the stories are very universal, there's a lot of cultural specificity, and I always want to do that with my work. And I'm glad that people get it, it resonates, people feel it in here. They don't just laugh and smile and cry, whatever. Like it's a part of who they are and their their DNA, and that it resonates. And it's great that every time Candy from Cameo comes on, everybody does the electric slide. I find that pretty amazing.
Right, for sure. I love that. When it comes to your creative process, do you wait on something to spark, or what moves you, and then how do you really go through that whole process when it comes to writing?
It's it, it's a mixed bag, you know, and I would say it's changed, it's evolved over the years. You know,
Mm.
sometimes, I wait when I'm writing something. I'm like, oh, you got to wait till the muse hits me. Around 3 o'clock is when the muse is going to hit me and
Yeah.
play a visit, and I can start,
Mm-hmm.
really getting creative. But then it gets to a point where you realize like this is a job,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
you're always going to write the crappy draft. You have to write the crappy draft.
That's so good.
You have to,
Yeah.
because you have to. You got to get to the end, because screenwriting, and I now I've found out novel writing is all about rewriting. You know,
Mm.
you got to get to the end,
Yeah.
and then look back and say, okay, oh, that's terrible. Oh, well, that's not so bad, and that's it. And then you just make it better.
Do you find joy in that process?
Huh?
He said, "Hmm."
Yeah. Sometimes it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like I find myself laughing when things are supposed to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
I find myself crying when
Wow.
they're emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so that's very joyous,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hard. It's a
Yeah.
hard process to get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I have to keep reminding myself is you guys got to keep plowing forward. And even if you're gonna not write what's the story that you're working on, you got to write something.
Yeah.
You have to, like, I've learned recently from a writer friend of mine, like, just the beginning of the day, start your brain dump. I meditate first.
Mm-hmm.
I do a meditation, and then try to clear my mind, and then go ahead and write what's on my brain, what's on my head, so I can just get rid of that. And then, okay, now I can get back to the pages that I write, and then, like, just, and it ain't gonna be great. It might be great, it might not be, and some days are better than others.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's with everything. You talked
100.
about for some years there was a time where it was really slow for you. What were those moments like when you realized you had to play the long game and it wasn't just going to come like you thought, like it was coming in 1999?
That was a long game too. I mean, I knew I wanted to be a
Right.
filmmaker this time I was 19.
Yeah.
So by the time I was 25, and in my third year of film school, I was like, this ain't working. Like,
Wow.
John Singleton made Boys in the Hood by the time he was 22. Orson Welles made Citizen Kane by 25. Like, what am I doing?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So it is a long, you have to just, what I've learned is you have to be a little patient. You have to have perseverance, stick to itiveness, and then, like I said, you gotta, if something comes along, sometimes it's ridiculous. My agent will give me a script, and I'm like, they want to make this? What?
Right.
Why do they, huh? And so I remember there was one script, there was a star that was circling it, and he was like supposed to be a Kirk Franklin type, right? And he's like, he was very much kind of a taskmaster and not a good guy.
Yeah.
And he ends up in purgatory. He gets into a car accident, ends up in purgatory, and they're like, well, you can go to either heaven or hell, or you can go back to this little white town and teach these white people gospel music. And I was like,
They want to make this.
they want to make this? They're like, yeah. And I was like, they want to make this? And so, like, those things happen, and during those dry patches, it's like, you just got to try, to reinvent yourself. Like, and during that time, that's when I started to move towards television. I had written a spec script that didn't get sold. And then I said, okay, let me see if I can make it into a television show. And that kept me afloat for a bit, because I was able to turn television show and get a little bit of money. And then that's when I came up with the branding thing with Best Man Holiday.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, I ain't saying no to nothing. When a script comes in, and they want me to do it, and the train's about to leave the station. All right, give me a week or two, and I'll just go and do it.
Yeah.
Because you can't just squander these opportunities. When you're hot, you gotta, like, keep hopping on. But at the same time, you have to have a life balance as well.
Right.
But
Let's talk about that.
It's not. It's just funny too, because my wife keeps me in check very much,
Mhm.
in terms of like making sure that I'm present, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
like at
good.
the same time, she's like, "Yo, you got to go make that money too, right?" Um, and I remember it's so funny. I had just done Girls Trip, and it wasn't coming out yet, but they had tremendous buzz, right?
Mhm.
And Universal wanted to make this movie Night School with Kevin Hart, and I was like, and they gave me a script, and I read it twice. I fell asleep, but I'm like, I can't do this. Like, this is not a good script, right? But they were like, oh, this is very important to the studio, and blah 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 blah. And they were gonna make it, and I was just like, and I talked it over with my wife, and she was like, well, look, you got to do what you feel, right? And they were gonna
Yeah.
pay me, a
Mhm.
good salary,
Yeah.
but I was like, Girl Trip was so hard. I had a very hard year between Girl Trip and Barbershop, and I'm not gonna do it. So I
Mhm.
tell Will Packer, I'm gonna pass.
Mhm.
And then I hung up the phone. I was in my office, and I called my wife, and she was like, I said, yep, I passed. She's like, all that money, huh? I was like, but you said,
Do it.
I said I should follow my heart. I said, let me call him back. So I called back, and I was like, yeah. I got his voicemail. Hey, call me back. Call me back.
Right.
I'm in.
That is hilarious. This one, like the saying when she says one thing, but she really means another.
No, I actually, she just, again, she keeps me in check. It's like, it's all about checks and balances, right? It's
Yeah.
like, okay, think about it, but what is it going to mean
Yeah.
long term, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna, and again, this when you say no, and that was the other thing too. Having done that movie,
Mhm.
that was very important to the studio. I got my deal at the studio, and there's a whole, there's relationships that are very important that need to be,
Absolutely. Mhm.
preserved and
Mhm.
cultivated.
Mhm.
So that's the long game.
Yeah. Did that in turn, that deal with him, did that in turn help you with the Peacock deal for the
I was
series?
already in right I'm sorry, a television deal with
Mhm.
Universal Television.
Right.
Universal Studios is different,
Mhm.
but I deal with both of them right now. So
Awesome.
it's I'm one of their soldiers.
Love that. Love that. And that's working out good for you, I see.
Could be better, but
Okay. I think let's talk about that too, just the state of Hollywood.
yeah,
We had the writers had a strike, then the
yeah,
actors had a strike, and then Transworld, they almost had a strike.
yeah.
Um, how has that one affected you? And then when you say it could be better, I think everybody in the industry feels like that's their answer. It could be better.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough time right now. I
Yeah.
think, especially the past 2 years, and
Hmm.
then if you even count the pandemic, before that, that was very
Yeah.
very tough.
Hmm.
A lot of people are losing jobs. The industry is shrinking,
It
especially
is.
after the writer's strike. It's a business that's contracting, and this happens. It goes through ebbs and flows,
Yes.
and so I would say that, yeah, I mean, it's a tough time, and they're very much running scared.
Mm.
They're not just saying yes to everything.
Hmm.
They're not, like taking chances on a lot of things.
Right.
They want the surefire thing. There's no such thing, by the way,
Hmm.
but they're relying very much on intellectual property that's been successful in the past.
Right.
So that's why you see another Jurassic Park being made, a Mission Impossible being made.
Hmm.
If they fail, people are going to go to those. People are
Hmm.
going to show up.
Hmm.
So that's what we're doing, that and a number of other things. That we're
Hmm.
trying to do original content, trying to do things like book adaptations
Hmm.
to the screen and things like that too.
Yeah.
So if it has a follow, if it has a built-in audience,
Hmm.
it's easier for them to say yes.
Right.
But even that, the development process, finding the right writer, finding the right producer, finding the right
Hmm.
actors, finding the right talent, trying to find the schedules that will line up.
Hmm.
It's not easy.
It's not. It's so true. Yeah, that's true. Talk about book adaptations. One of the questions we all had was like, is he going to turn this book into a series? Because it's you're going to do 3 books.
3 books.
3 books. This is the first one
That's
of
correct.
the 3. How is the writing process for a script and a book different?
I think you know they're similar in that you got to have character, you got to have story, you got to write scenes,
Hmm.
you have to write dialogue.
Right.
Um, you have to create a world.
Hmm.
However, with a screenplay, it's a lot more contained.
Hmm.
and a lot more restrictive.
Gotcha.
Um, but something great can come out of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you have to have that classic 3 act structure with your inciting incident and your engine that pulls you through the second act and the denouement and the third act crisis or the end of second act crisis and then the resolution and these are part of movie lore. You have to do these things. There are exceptions to that rule, but with a book you can kind of take your time a little bit. There's a lot more expansive storytelling that goes on where
Mm-hmm.
you get into these characters' brains and psyches and get to know them on an intimate level. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, people think they know, Harper, Robin, and Jordan, but they don't know some of their backstory. They don't know
Right.
their upbringing. They don't know where they came from. Really,
Mm-hmm.
they might have some idea, but and what their thinking is. I mean, you can only tell what they're thinking when they tell you what they're thinking, when they
Right.
say it
Mm-hmm.
on a television show or a movie, or if they're doing voiceover.
Mm-hmm.
But with a book, you're able to get into their subconscious. You're able to also take advantage of all kinds of all the senses. The
Mm-hmm.
touch, the feel, the see, the
Yes.
hearing, the taste.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's a fantastic, more expansive way of storytelling.
Absolutely. What made you say it is time to write a book?
I've loved the written word
Mm-hmm.
from early on and fantasized about writing a novel.
Really?
Yeah, because my screenplays have always been too long, right? Like I remember my first draft of The Best Man was like 135
Oh
pages.
wow, yeah.
And the studio was like, "You got to cut this down." So
Mm-hmm.
I played with fonts and stuff and got it down to 120. Big mistake.
They're like,
Once
no.
they reset that thing, they were like, "Oh my God, you got to cut this." And I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
well, So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I like having the breadth of
Mm-hmm.
storytelling in writing a novel.
Mm-hmm.
So like that was a beautiful process, and I got to collaborate with a co-writer named Jane Allen,
Yes.
and she was established in the world. I hadn't had that opportunity, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it myself. I do have a day job,
Mhm.
and so I said, well, I want to try this thing and see how
Yeah.
how it could potentially work. But it was time, and also time to do it with these characters, and this was a kind of an easy foray or an easier foray
Mhm.
than to create characters from whole cloth. There was a backstory that existed. There's the
Mhm.
characters that existed. There were circumstances that people were familiar with, and even those people who aren't familiar with it,
Mhm.
I think can still vibe with the storytelling that goes on here. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it was time to do it, and I knew that it would be incredibly difficult to mount another television show or movie with the storytelling that I wanted to do,
Mhm.
and to get all those actors back together
Mhm.
would be very difficult.
Yeah.
Um, so I was like, well, let me give this a shot,
Mhm.
and try it, and because the fans wanted more,
Yes.
from these characters. I thought we were done after final chapters, and I think it was mainly because of how difficult it was to wrangle
Because
everybody
everybody's got
and
different things
get the
going
studio
on.
to agree
Yeah.
to this budget, and
Mhm.
it's just not easy.
Yeah. Oh man. So does that mean we may not get any more final chapters? Because where it
You're
left
getting it
off,
right there on the written
we're getting it
form.
here.
You'll have it there,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
it's a very cinematic experience.
Yeah.
People are really going to. This is a deeper look at these
Mhm.
characters than we've
Yeah.
ever experienced before.
I will say that we spoke about this too. When you read a book and then you go watch the TV or film adaptation, the book is always better. So I'm excited to really dive
Yeah,
in.
because
Yeah.
look, when you're reading a book, you have what you envision for it, right?
Yes.
And there's probably millions of people's interpretations
Mm-hmm.
of what that is.
Right.
But when you're watching a movie or television show, that's one person's vision,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the director, the writer, maybe 5 people's vision of what
Yeah.
that thing should be.
Right.
And then you have a bunch of other people like costume designers and you know directors of photography and production designers that are all going to like put their stamp on it as well. So it's a
Right.
collaborative process,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the book is a singular experience,
Mm-hmm.
for the reader and for the writer.
Yeah. Which one do you enjoy better? if you had to pick?
I definitely enjoyed this,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed the screenwriting process too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it's flowing,
Yeah, right.
when it ain't,
It's
it's
hard.
hard. It's like, ugh,
Yes, that is so
this is
true.
tough. I mean, I like them both. I like the creative process, and you know, and especially you know, in television and in you know, in this case with the book, I had a collaborator. I've had, you know, and you know, in the television show, we had writers, it was writers' room.
Yeah.
So it's always good to like you know get input, and that generates good, healthy discussion,
Right.
and that generates ideas. When
Mhm.
you're you know singular and writing your own screenplay,
Mhm.
that's great also, and
Right.
I do enjoy that too. But you know,
I love that. What part of being a storyteller do you think that people don't get to see? We see the finished outcome, and we see everything that you do on TV, but we don't really see the ins and outs. What is something that you could share with us that we really don't get to see?
I mean, it's it's a lonely process.
Wow.
It is you know it's a singular
Mm.
you know process that requires discipline
Mm-hmm.
and perseverance, and because every day is not going to be a banner day when you write something. And, you know, you mean, oh my God, this sucks.
Mm.
Why? Who even cares about these characters? I've
Right.
got to the end of a screenplay and being like, who's going to care,
Ah.
right? And but then you guys say, okay, wait a minute, you wrote it for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
The idea was there was inspiration behind it. Okay, so what's good about it?
Yeah.
And so it's lonely. It's it takes a lot of discipline because no one's just telling you like, oh, like you got to reach this many pages in a day,
Right.
right? I mean, you if you're getting paid, you know you are supposed to like you know hit some deadlines,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
and you know it doesn't always you know work like that.
Mm-hmm. When you say discipline, can you take us through a day with Malcolm D. Lee, like what that discipline looks like? Because I'm sure some people don't even understand the discipline it takes to be a storyteller. What does that look like from your lens?
You know, every screenplay has been different. You
Mm-hmm.
know, first you can't just start writing interior, you know, Max's house
Right.
day, you know, setting the scene. You you have to like do pieces. You got to do a lot of pre-writing.
Mm.
You have to like, who is this character? What does he? Where does he come from? Where does she come from? What is he like? What's the what you know? And so character first. That's where I always start with
Mm.
character, and just you know try to like first what story are you telling, right? And then how is and what's the interaction going to be? Is it what's the tone? Is it a comedy? Is it a dramedy? Is it a drama? Is it a
Mm-hmm.
tragedy? You know, you have to figure out tone, character, story, plot, inciting incident.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's going to keep this going? Like why are we going to be watching
Right.
or reading?
Reading, yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so there's a lot that goes into it, and
Yeah.
some of it at this point I think is a little bit intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
Other things are just that they take some discussion or you know looking uh reading other things like reading other books, doing research. um you know, for instance in this book here we have a huge section of it that takes place in Ghana,
Yes, I heard about
and
that.
you know I had to go there for like 10 days to like just get myself immersed in the culture so I could
Right.
speak authentically about what an American woman's
Mm.
experience might be there. Somebody who's trying to
Yeah,
open a restaurant like
that's
Robin.
good. That's good. How was that experience going
Great,
there?
great.
Really?
I love Ghana.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's just very like traveling the world gives you a definitely a different perspective on America
Mm-hmm.
and the world, right? And
Absolutely.
about like where we've come from, what was taken from us, what we've
Mm.
endured.
Yeah.
It's and what's still going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's eye opening.
Yeah, that's so good. When it comes to your book and you've grown with these characters, how do you approach them now as an adult different than the way you did as a 20-year-old?
That's interesting. I don't know. You know, look, I look at their commonalities and their humanity and what they're
Mm-hmm.
going. What did 20-year-olds go through? Was all you know was all the experience that I had,
Yeah.
right? Um, and then you know what would happen if, like, you've got kids and, one of your friends was dying? Like, what is that going to be like?
Yeah.
What if one's having financial trouble? What is that,
Yeah.
what if this same group of friends has something, that comes up from your past that is, affecting your future? So these are all
Yeah.
questions you ask, and then, okay, let's put it in the holidays and see what happens,
Right.
right? And so, same thing with the final chapters and with this book here. You say, what's life like for, you know, uh, post divorce? For somebody who's very successful like Harper is,
Yeah.
who is like, a Pulitzer Prize winner. He's financially independent. He's, not, and kind of flush with cash, and like getting a little, he's outside, getting, trying to find companionship,
Yeah.
but it's not really working. What is it? What is life for Jordan, who's finally given up the grind and gone into self-care? What does that look like for a woman who's, a black woman, a professional black woman who's approaching her 50s? Saying, and what's it look like for a woman who's raising their very American child, over in Accra, Ghana,
Yeah.
and trying to open a restaurant, and the little child is like, having their own opinions, and becoming a teenager, and dealing with that, and so, and then new love and rebirth, and all these things that, like, we explore in the novel, and then things that have happened in the past that affect you now. So it's all, in those are all themes that you just kind of like, want to tackle. And then on top of it, I'm a better writer now than I was then. I know, like, what has to happen,
Right.
and what the expectations are and where we're leading. But at the same time, you have to trust the material and the characters, because they will tell you where it's going to go.
That's good.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, same thing happened in the first Best Man, that happened in this book. I was going along a path. I'll give you an example. Robin was never, that's Sanaa Lathan's character. She was never coming to the wedding in the original draft.
Really?
That's correct. It wasn't until we were doing the I was doing the rewrite for the studio, and my producer was like, what if she came to the wedding? Because all was going to happen was Harper was going to get his ass beat. He was going to have his lesson learned, and he was going to be like, you know what, I need to make a stronger commitment to my relationship. He goes home. He's trying to make a meal for Robin. He's messing it up, and he's like, she's like, what happened? And he's like, here, I give her. He gave her a key to his place. Yeah. It's nice.
It's nice.
But it's not what it needed to be.
Yeah.
Once she got there, and once you understood, you must put pressure on your main character in order to see what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Right? That is how you tell story.
Yes.
It's conflict. It's, it's like, okay, so I was like, God, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Right? And you write it and you say, oh, this is good. This is better. She does calm him down. First she's pissed off and she wants to leave. But he tells, I need you. Please don't leave me. And that's a real thing that was okay. Like, she can help, and she's the woman for you.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing in this book. I'm not going to tell you the ending, but I was going along a path, and Jane and I were talking, and Chelsea, our editor, was like, well, this is the way this is happening. And, you really got to think about what this choice and what that choice, and what he should do here and what she should do there. And I'm like, man, yeah, we got to do that.
Yeah.
Because that makes sense.
That's so good. I love that. How much of your storytelling mirrors your life?
Well, some elements, yes, but not a ton. I mean, look, I'm going through, things that, like, a lot of these characters going through, like midlife metamorphosis. Like, what my body is changing, like, and I do feel like the best I felt in years, but at the same time, like, your body's like, you ain't 25 no more. You ain't 40,
That's
Yeah. And so, like, you see friends who, we have friends who were together for a long time. They got divorced, especially around this age.
Yeah.
So there's a reflection for sure that we're seeing Fortunately, unlike Harper, I am still married.
Amen. Yes.
And I'm as much as I've been on the grind and want to be on the grind and know the grind, want to push for the grind. Like I like Jordan has trying to find like a balance, right?
Yeah.
So like that's been healthy as well, just trying to figure all those things out. And Robin being in Ghana, I get that. I get that she's like she choosing herself. She chose herself, and she chose her happiness, and she wasn't going to be supportive of a man that wasn't going to give a reciprocal a reciprocity to the relationship. And so I don't know if I fantasize about being in Ghana, but when I was there, I was like,
I see why
could
she
I do this?
Yeah.
Maybe. If the things keep going the way they're going here,
Listen, come on
maybe.
now. Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. Readers, I've heard the books are flying off the shelves.
Yeah, yeah. I just yesterday. My co-writer Jane, she went. She has a ritual where she when she's in New York, she gets a little hot chocolate from a certain place. She goes to a Barnes and Noble in Midtown, and signs books. So she
Awesome.
went and got the hot chocolate yesterday. Went to Barnes and Noble, sold out.
Wow.
And I was like, word? She was like, yeah. So, and then we had the Schomburg last night. All the books were sold out. The house was packed. It's fantastic. So, like, I'm glad that people are taking to that they care about the story and they want to know the story, even though it's not on the big or the small screen. They can have their own small screen or big screen experience. And what everyone tells me, and I believe it, and I think it's true. It feels like a movie.
Yeah.
Because you see who the actors were. You don't have to picture who they are. There's
Yeah.
a few new characters that you might say, oh, who would that be?
Right.
And that's fair. Go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
And so and the social media has been pretty robust as well. So we're very excited.
That's amazing. For people who are looking forward to diving in the book, what can you tell them to look forward to?
More of the same. If you love Best Man, or if you even liked Best Man, you're gonna love this book.
Yeah.
It's more of the same. The humor's there. There's a depth of emotion that's there. There's gonna be some surprises. I definitely think people are going to laugh. They're going to talk out loud to the book. They're going to get angry at characters. They're going to be sad for characters. They're gonna they should be when the songs get referenced in there, they should play the playlist for themselves.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot to expect. They're going to have a great time. It's a great journey, and I'm hearing that people, just like they binged final chapters, people they watched it like multiple times.
Yes.
And they watched it like from like beginning to end in one setting.
That's me, I'm a binger.
That is what I'm hearing. People are finishing this book in 2 days.
Wow.
And this book is almost 500 pages.
Oh yeah.
And the people are like, it's a page turner. They're just voraciously reading it.
That's amazing. Congratulations on everything. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited for you.
Appreciate
and
it.
Much success. Before we get out of here, I do want to play a little game with you.
Oh, playing games?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a rapid fire game, so just
Uh-oh.
the first thing that comes to mind.
Oh boy. I'm terrible at these things. I'm an overthinker.
Well, some of these you would know because these are like, some of them are direct.
Okay.
What is the first script you ever wrote?
Oh, Morningside Prep.
Favorite film that you didn't direct?
Sure. I'm gonna say Parenthood.
Okay, it's good. Okay, a book that changed your life?
It changed my life, but I would say Native Son.
It's good. Most surreal moment in your career so far?
I'm sure it has to do with Girls Trip. Probably shooting at Essence at Girls Trip.
Yes, that was crazy that y'all did that. Your favorite author?
Probably Richard Wright.
Okay, and favorite fictional character? Do you have a favorite in your world, like a favorite character?
Oh boy, no. I love all these. I love all my characters, right? maybe Quentin, but he's not, that's very selfish to say my own character. I'm sure there are others, in the movies and television that I can't think. Nobody's coming to mind. My mind's a blank.
All right, last one. What is bringing you the most joy right now?
I think life in general. Like I got a very good balance. Kids are healthy. Wife's behind in my corner. I got a book coming out. I got my career is doing well. I'd like to make a little bit more money, but other than that, I'm good.
I love that. Malcolm, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
Guys,
you.
get the book. It's on the shelves right now.
Or maybe not.
Because they're selling out.
They're selling
you
out.
Have to order it.
You better get that book.
Yes.
Don't be left out the chat.
Yeah, listen, do not be left out the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is amazing. Today on the shoes, I am wearing a Heart Alaya pump. My skirt is leopard print by Zara. T-shirt is Christian Dior. Jewelry, Van Cleef, Schiaparelli. And my earrings are also by Schiaparelli. Get into it. Wow, it feels like maybe the Sweeties need to start a book club and call a meeting because we need to discuss this book and these characters. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend, and make sure you hit that notification button. Until next time, keep it positive, sweeties.